Hi guys, Zach here with another Command & Conquer Red Alert video. In this game I'm playing a 3v3 match on the map Potholes. I'm standing in the top left position playing as the Soviets. And you can see me moving my MCV down a little bit at the start, and that's just to get myself in a better position in relation to the ore patches. As you'll see, there's 3 ore patches and I just want my MCV to sort of get in the middle at the moment. We can see there that's the first ore patch I'm going to be expanding to, and then there's going to be also one on the right hand side and one above my base. So getting some infantry out straight away and getting down the map. I just want to uncover as much of that map as I can down below, and also block any scouts from getting any visibility on my base. So there goes my first ore refinery, and I'm going to be going straight for a war factory now. And we can see some infantry there from the opponent. I do have some infantry though guarding those little gaps, those like bottlenecks, and you can see orange there trying to get an infantry guy into my base. So I'm just going to be careful now. I'm just trying to use my infantry sensibly, but we can see that red has blocked that entrance there, and now I'm going to be building I've built my first war factory. I'm now going to be expanding to the second ore patch. And we have some visibility there actually from blue as well, just running past. And now I'm going to build my second ore refinery. When I'm playing with ore-only maps, I always go for the second ore refinery before I go for my second war factory. And if you want to go for an economic start, also build 2 ore trucks first of all. And then you put 1 ore truck on each ore patch. And that just helps sort of like maintain the ore and not overuse it all on the same patch. So now we've got both of our ore trucks out, we're going to start building tanks. And since we've got 4 ore trucks on the ore patches, we're going to be building our second war factory. So we'll have 2 war factories producing tanks, and that's just going to help us a little bit with production speed, because when you have 2 war factories, it doubles the production speed compared to 1. And we will be trying to expand our economy even more and hopefully get in a 3rd war factory. But now I'm going to be using ore refinery on that ore patch above my base, and just getting a squash on some of those infantry. So that's just sometimes quite effective when you first got a tank. And you can see now red is sort of spreading his infantry out. We're getting a few more kills there, but we can see the heavy tanks coming from red, and I'm going to need to pull back and regroup. We do have 2 war factories working, so we will be able to start getting some of those tank numbers built up and getting them in this spot here. You can see a couple of red tanks there waiting at that bottleneck. I'm also getting my 3rd war factory because I'm on 3 ore patches now, and now taking out those 2 tanks, and he pulls back a little bit further. And yeah, we can just see more tanks starting to group up there. I'm just going to wait to get my 3rd war factory because it's quite early actually. And what I do is, once I've built my 3rd war factory, I'm going to get an extra ore truck on that ore patch. And that's just to help maintain and use some of that extra building speed I'll get from having a 3rd war factory. And now I'm going to start expanding down the map because I'm going to want to get into that compartment I'm in now. And now you can see that tank there for red getting on the other side of that gap. And now we're trying to just see if we can push our way through and see if we're going to be able to get the jump here, getting a couple of those heavy tanks down. But I'm also losing some tanks myself. I've also got some infantry in there. Let's see how this goes. And I'm just having a bit of trouble getting the tanks through the bottleneck, and the red tanks, there's just too many of them. I'm going to have to pull back into the gap and just let my forces rebuild up. I do have 3 war factories, so it is a decent building speed. We're just going to have to see if we can group up and maybe just get that upper hand on red. But yes, I'm going in again. We lost a tank there, but we're sort of getting a couple of kills there. And those tanks are on pretty low HP. Another couple of tanks going down from either side. Yeah, there's just too many there. I'm not going to be able to do anything for the time being, and just leave my tanks around here for the moment, and expanding down to that next ore patch. So I'm going to be getting that ore refinery out pretty soon. And just trying to have a look for a way through at the moment. It's sort of like hard because yeah, when you've got all these bottlenecks, it's just very, very hard to be able to push through, especially when there's a group of especially when there's a group of tanks at the other side. We might try to actually expand down though, because sometimes with bottlenecks what you can do is, especially if you're playing as the Soviets, is start building base defences, but that's going to take a little bit of time to get down to that position. But I'm getting a couple of ore refineries on this new ore patch that I've got onto. Now the thing is the reason I really want to get into this space below is because you can see there's really a lot of ore there. And with there being a lot of ore there, what it means is I would be able to deny the enemy from being able to mine a lot, because I'm sure that red is going to be expanded into that area, which is going to give them a good economy boost. And there, I think I saw a little shot there. I don't know where that came from exactly, or whether they're building on the water. I'll have to, but I can't see any cruisers there, so... Anyway, what's happening now is I'm going to be building down. You can see my power plant crawl going quite close to that gap, and we're just going to have to see if we can actually get onto that gap, get a Tesla coil placed there, and start putting our tanks through. Because once that Tesla coil starts firing with our tanks, it puts us in a much better position. But we can see our teammate is having a bad time in the middle of the map, and he's out of the game. So now it's down to a 3v2 match. Unfortunately, I couldn't really go there because I've got red. If I took my tanks and decided to go to the middle of the map, then red would have absolutely annihilated me. Yeah, because you can see all those tanks there, they'd just be waiting to go. So now we're trying to go through the gap. We were going to see if that Tesla coil was going to provide any support, but it hasn't. But it is firing on some of those tanks there as they get too close. And I'm going to be able to get another Tesla coil down quite soon. And what it'll actually also be able to do is be able to fire on some of the ore trucks if they get too close on that ore patch. And just having a bit of a look there, and our teammate is trying to go for an attack on the middle position. But now we can see that red is also getting Tesla coils for the bottleneck. And I'm going to be sending some tanks to the middle now and seeing if I can put any pressure there. I'll also need to bring some tanks back and leave them around that gap, just in case red decide to go on the attack. But now we're going to try and attack orange. But we can see that red has created another blockade in the middle of the map. So we're going to see if we can try and push through. But this doesn't look likely. It looks like red is defending this gap pretty well. And also orange is now coming up behind because cyan hasn't been able to break through too much. So now orange and red working together, and it's a bit of a difficult position. And now I'm going to have to go back to my main base because we can see that red is doing some major damage as I was focusing on the middle of the map. So I'll have to try and take these tanks out ASAP. You can see a lot of those tanks are on low HP though, and it looks like red has lost quite a bit of his army there, but he has taken out some buildings. And the thing is, I would have been able to push through if it wasn't for those Tesla coils. What I'll try and do though is I'll try and go for the far side because I do have the superior tank numbers, but we can see that both red and green are starting to build their Tesla numbers on them in this compartment. So what I'm going to do is I want to send some tanks down the other side because red's moved his tanks now, and those Tesla are on, when they're on low HP, they don't work nowhere near as well. So those two Tesla going down. The problem is green has some Tesla a bit further down the map, and that's providing a bit of a nuisance right at the moment. So just trying to get a bit of damage done here. But I think that Tesla's really managed to wing down my tank forces, and I may not have enough. Because you can see that green is there also, and those red tanks numbers are starting to build back up. So unfortunately I'm going to have to pull back for the time being. With both teams having a lot of Tesla there, it's making things difficult, and now we can see that red is trying to push back through, some tanks going up the wrong way, and green looks to be quite on the aggressive stance as well, putting a few tanks there. It's probably going to help me that actually, because it's going to block any red tanks. It depends, are green and red going to come up at the same time? I'm going to leave some tanks at either side because it looks like green might be going on the attack and red might be going up the other side, and that could be proved very problematic. And what I'm doing is I'm waiting for that Tesla to be built, because once that Tesla gets built, it's going to provide a bit of defense and help against those green tanks that have been pretty aggressive. And you can see that Tesla, as soon as it comes out, those green tanks pulling back into the base. And yeah, I've got full map visibility. The other guy's got satellite. And I'm just building Tesla at the moment. It's a bit of a priority over the radar dome right now. You can see I've just paused at building tanks a little bit there and stacking up a little bit. We can see that orange trying to bring a tank in, and I'm just having a look at those ore trucks, and I think they might come and try and mine off my ore patch pretty soon, because we can see orange is running out of resources. I'm just going to send some tanks through there and try and get some ore truck destruction, and you can see that ore truck now trying to go to my ore patch. I've still got some tanks left here, and I'm going to still build up the Tesla forces and hopefully get the radar dome out so I can see what's going on. We can see that red is bringing tanks on the defensive stance to orange's base, making sure I don't get through there, because then that would leave him vulnerable from different angles on his own base. And now getting the radar dome out again so I can see what's going on in different parts of the map. And now red's starting to push through. We can see he's trying to take his tanks around the left side of the map. And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to get to my base and do some major damage to the buildings there. Just getting my tanks grouped up there, destroying his reinforcements from the left-hand side. But I am going to need to deal with this because this could be very bad for myself. Getting another war factory out there, and also going to be getting some more tanks produced out. Just trying to destroy as much as I can. And now we've got some tanks. I was looking at the ones sort of in that compartment, but he had some coming from the bottleneck as well, and just putting some buildings around my construction yard, and that just makes it a little bit easier to defend, because it's harder to like circle tanks around a structure where it has other structures surrounding it. But now you can see those red tanks not being able to do so much damage to that middle base. He has got rid of my ore refinery, so which is going to hamper my economy a little bit. And now I get the radar dome back out, and we can see my teammate on the right side in the radar. He's doing an attack on the right hand side, but it doesn't seem to have got very far so far. But now just clearing up the remainder of those red tanks, and I'm going to be back in the same position which we've seen ourselves in a lot of this game. And yeah, you can just see those MiGs attacking my construction yard, unfortunately. But now we're going to go into the middle of the map and see if we can get into that orange's base, because we can see those red tanks, there's nowhere near as many of them as there has been earlier in the game, and taken out, there's only 2 left, and then we'll be able to get into orange's base. We'll have to see, is the other team going to respond? We'll wait and find out. But yeah, you can see some of those red tanks trying to get into my base there in the middle there, but I've got too many tanks there. And we're going to go back down, go down now and try and fight orange. And at the moment it's just a case of doing as much damage as we can in the time we've got, and give our teammates the best chance. But we are getting into the orange's base. The only thing is we've got some red tanks there, and green has some Tesla there as well. And those Tesla doing a real number on my tanks, and it's not going too well there. And you can see those red tanks now coming into that middle compartment. So I'm going to take all my tanks back to this location and defend this push from red. So pushing as far forward as we can now. Just trying to get a bit further and destroying those red tanks. Like so many times in this game though, we do seem to have the better tank numbers, but as soon as we try to push into that bottleneck, things seem to go wrong. But what I do notice now on this map is that a lot of the ore is running out. We see our teammate in the middle of the map with a lot of tanks there, and now we're going to try and push down once again, and let's see if we can do this. Just taking out some of those red tanks. The red tank numbers aren't as great as they have been, and again the Tesla from green behind. Let's see how far we can go. Just taking out some of those tanks, but we're going to go for that Tesla first of all, because while that Tesla's firing, we're not going to be able to push down any further, and yet another Tesla going down further down the map. So just going to pull back, regroup. You can see my tank numbers are pretty good. What I'm trying to do though is just fight outside the range. We got rid of the Tesla which was closest by, so we might be able to get rid of some of those tanks there. Unfortunately though, some of my tanks are coming from the other side and getting taken out and getting hits from that Tesla, but those tank numbers don't look good for red, and it looks like we might be able to get through here and get the jump on those Tesla, because our tank numbers are good now, and those Tesla starting to go down for green. We've got only one Tesla left, and it goes down, and now we're going to be able to go for some structures and take them out, and now we're finally inside their base. There are some tanks in my base, but we're just going to see how much destruction we can get done here. Just taking out some of those red buildings once again, and those tank numbers for red are really poor. And now the Tesla again for green. We're going to take that out pretty quickly though, getting our tanks down. You can see how low those Tesla HP is, and taking out a construction yard for good measure as well. That'll slow the building speed of structures, and now taking out some of those red tanks. Those red tank numbers falling, and we can see that red, I thought he was going to pull back to his base there, but those tank numbers are just not good enough, and they going and falling down in HP quite quickly. And the question is, how many resources does red have left to keep on maintaining tank production? So taking out some of those buildings now, some of those power plants or refineries, and you can see some of those ore trucks trying to go up the map. I'm just having a bit of a look at my base. It looks like they've taken out my ore refineries, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes. But I don't think red has any resources now to be able to replenish those tanks, and now taking out these green buildings here, and I'm going to try and push red right back into his base, and it doesn't look like red has much left at all. He has those few remaining buildings, and he's going to be pretty much out of the game. We can see still a red tank coming out of there. However, we still don't know whether red has an MCV elsewhere on the map, but now in this tank battle here, we can see those red tanks getting whittled down, and they're getting destroyed quicker than they can be replaced. But now we can see green coming in with a number of tanks, and this could change things, and I have been wiped out by orange, some orange tanks taking out the other parts of my base while I fought against red and green, and that is the game over. A lot of fights centred around those bottlenecks, but when I was finally able to break through, it was just too late and the damage was done. So thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed the video.